I am finishing up a 3-week vacation slash family visit to my Wisconsin home. And I just want to share a few impressions. I don't know where this is going to go or why I've chosen to just ramble, but that's the format for today. I don't like this video already. What's up, cuz? You know who I am. It's Editor Jack here. Listen, I just found all this footage on my phone showing things that I filmed while I was here in Wisconsin for you, so I'm going to put it up in the corner while I'm talking. You can choose to ignore it if not, or you can enjoy the wonderful sights and not sounds, but just sights of Wisconsin, rural Wisconsin. Okay, I came home. I got off the plane in Chicago O'Hare, and I got on O'Hare Wi-Fi, and suddenly I find out a friend of mine, actually someone I had a very big crush on in high school. She was my sister was maid of honor at her wedding, died. Like when I was on the plane, a friend had texted me, and the second I found out she died, I knew how she had died, by her own hand, because for many years she had suffered from depression. Now shortly thereafter, I discovered that the soon-to-be bride of my cousin, the reason I came home to attend their wedding, she was struck with a terribly nasty case of pneumonia and was in the hospital. Meanwhile, my best friend from high school's mother lives in Brookfield, Wisconsin, and she has been ill for a very long time. I just found out it was Parkinson's and maybe some other things. I'm not exactly sure. It's one of those illnesses where you don't really know what's going on, at least outside of the family. But my best, Tom was one of my best friends from high school. Tom and John May. John, you're a patron. If you're out there, I'm sending you love. So Tom and Brian, Tom's brother, they were all coming home to take care of their mom who was on hospice, and it just happened to coincide with my visit here. So I've been meaning to see Mila Nolasco for the longest period of time. She is my second mother. I spent so much time in Tom's basement in high school talking about relationships that we would never get into, with women who would never love us back, playing pool. His dad was a successful doctor, and he lived in this nice house in Brookfield, and we would play pool in the basement, and I have such good memories about having a warm, stable, secondary home, a loving home away from home with the Nolascos, and suddenly Mila got sick, and so I came home and went over there, and it was so good to see Tom again. He's a lawyer now. He lives in Phoenix, and to see his sister Amy, and to see Brian, and to go into the living room and see Mila. And it was interesting because Tom had texted me when I was on the road driving to his house. Now, I don't have data in the States because I'm cheap. And so I'm always leapfrogging from one data giving location to another, whether it's a coffee shop or my parents' house where there's Wi-Fi. I had no Wi-Fi in my car. I show up and Tom's like, I texted you, man. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I think she's going to go tonight. And the impression I got was he didn't want me to come in and see her like she was dying. What was that? Was it a kind of, I don't know what it was, but he didn't really want me to see her, but I did get to see her. I came in, and I touched her hand, and everybody, family was around talking, eating. We always ate a lot around Mila. Tons of food always. Mila, she's Filipino. Her husband died a year before. He was also Filipino. They emigrated from the Philippines, and so we just spent some time at her side, and then that night she passed away, like a few hours after I left. So there's been weddings since I've been here, there's been funerals, there's been deaths, there's been no births this time. There was a birth last summer when I came home, So there's a new baby here when I arrived this year who's already up on her feet. Little Violet with her beautiful blue eyes. She's already up on her feet and walking around and talking. Knew a woman once who was a Nichiren Buddhist, and she talked a lot about something that the founder of her tradition had talked about, which is the 4 things you should be grateful for. Your mom and dad, your parents, your country, or your sovereign. So the person who's protecting you on a governmental level. And then the other 2 things were the Buddha, the Dharma, and the sangha, or the 3 treasures in Buddhism, as well as... He checks his computer. The 4th thing was, maybe that's all it was. One's father and mother, one's sovereign, the 3 treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the sangha. So Nichiren Buddhists, or the Shin Buddhists, say the Nembetsu, the Namu Amida Butsu, in gratitude. There's that old Buddhist saw about how it's really hard to find truly grateful people. Like, really, really hard. Like, you can be a blind turtle swimming around in the ocean, and somewhere in the ocean there's a tiny little hoop, and the chances of you finding someone who's truly blessed with gratitude is about as likely as that blind turtle eventually winding up with its head right through that loop or hoop that's floating around in the ocean somewhere. But this is the time of year for gratitude, I think. If there's anything that we can wrest from the commercial clutches of our highly materialistic American holidays, because holy bananas, people. Like, already there's Christmas music blasting on every single radio station, tons of sales and complicated emails I'm getting from American companies about the products they want me to buy while I'm here, etc., etc. If there's one principle, true principle, spiritual principle, we can rest from the clutches of our materialistic culture at this time of year, be it Thanksgiving or Christmas that we're heading into. It is gratitude, the practice and principle of gratitude, being thankful, just pausing amidst our incredibly busy lives as we come to the end of this year, and being thankful for what we have, for the fact that we're still going, we're all healthy enough and safe enough to be able to be looking at a phone or a computer right now, to be watching my video. We're here, living. As human beings, I actually got that quote wrong, that turtle aphorism. The turtle is blind, it's swimming around in the ocean, and somewhere out in the ocean there's a hula hoop or whatever, and it is as likely to be reborn in a fortunate human birth than it is for that blind turtle to eventually out there in the Pacific Ocean swim through this hoop. So the point is, we're supposed to have gratitude for our human birth. And the practice of gratitude, it's subtle and it's tricky, but it hit me during this trip, and it hit me last night what it means. So, as many of you know, I've been working on a novel, writing the damn thing, and I've been not happy with my latest section that I'm reading, so I was grumpy and editing it, totally caught up with my usual mechanisms of guilt and frustration and self-criticism and self-doubt. And then I managed to get into a pretty good conversation with my father, whom I'm staying with now, and who has been in many ways humbled and changed by his recent divorce from my mother, and by the fact that he is, per his own words, on death's door. Is my father on death's door? He's 80 and he's doing pretty well, but oh God, did my heart just split open when I saw him, when I got off the plane and off the bus at Mitchell International from Chicago O'Hare, and I saw him waiting down in the departure section on those uncomfortable plastic chairs. He looked like an old man. There's a way that the mouth looks when a person gets real old. Tom's mom had it when she was on her deathbed. It's kind of open and sagging. And my teacher, Sasaki Roshi, had it on his deathbed and in a lot of his final years. And I can see that kind of that mouth on my dad now. And last night we were talking, and he is, by his own admission, he's still completely trapped, is how he puts it, in the tenets of the Catholicism that he was raised on. A very sort of judgmental and rigid 1950s American Catholicism, very binary and dualistic, good and bad, do this, don't do that. And he said he just couldn't rest his brain from that paradigm. And he asked me how my teacher, the Roshi, had thought about death and the afterlife. And I told him, and I didn't know how to put it into words, but I said, the Roshi didn't talk so much about the afterlife. He didn't unpack the afterlife for us. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And I couldn't express a kind of feeling of okayness I had around death. Even though it's hard, it's not something that terrifies me like it terrifies him. And I felt this incredible gratitude, once again, for being exposed to a great teacher and a great sangha and the principles and practices of Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. A lot of people don't get exposure to these teachings ever. They somehow slide through their life eluding that Zen path, or a non-dual spiritual path, be it Vedanta or some of the other Buddhist traditions, Vipassana, even mindfulness practices. So as fortunate as we are to be born humans and to experience this human life, like it wouldn't be a human life if there wasn't a war being raged in Gaza right now, and a war being raged in Ukraine right now, and cancer in some of our cells, and car accidents waiting to happen on the freeway. Like, if there wasn't danger at every turn and stakes, it wouldn't be a human life. But the Buddhist teachings show us how to be unattached to our circumstances, to our hopes and our dreams, like me for my petty little novel, or whatever your hopes and dreams are, maybe for romance, maybe for more money in the upcoming year. Whatever we're attached to, like Buddhism teaches us to just let go your grip. Let go your grip and let it be, and be with it. It teaches us how to be humans, to be good humans, not good people like my dad's Catholicism taught him. Taught him not to jerk off or to say naughty words or eat meat on Fridays. That's of course not what we're talking about. We're talking about how to be good humans, humans that can be on a deathbed without a fluttering cave of crazy bats going off in our head. These thoughts, these dark thoughts, right, can allow us to be with a person on their deathbed. I would like to think that the Zen Buddhism that we practice when we do our sits on with my patrons, for example, or when I sit at night, or just when I'm in a crowded room with relatives and I'm going into my breath because I've started to go too far into my head and I'm getting spun out, right? Like, I'd like to think that this Buddhism, this Zen, this spiritual practice is something that teaches us how to be human, because it's not easy. Like, being human means being involved in something of a shit show. I mean, that's the first noble truth. There is suffering, i.e., this is something of a shit show that we're in together, okay? And I think it's the heart of the fierce heart of the spiritual practitioner on the Zen path, as my teacher practiced it, as my mentor practices it, as I try and practice it, as you try and practice it. It's a spirit of embracing the entirety of the shit show and having gratitude for it. And weirdly, I don't want to use the word faith, but it's more like trusting the shit show. You could say we're here for a reason, and I accept that. I don't know what the reason is, and I don't think that it's logical, but I feel the presence of the I don't know if you want to call it God, Buddha nature, the presence of a purpose in this life, a reason for us to get out of bed in the morning, a reason for us to face our difficulties, a reason for us to embrace all aspects of the shit show. And I think as this holiday of Thanksgiving winds to a close for me, and I feel myself growing 1 year older, and I see my dear parents rounding, the final lap or two of their life. And I know I've got some, difficult moments ahead of me when they start to tip over into ill health and pre-death. I'm looking it in the eye, like I'm looking in this camera eye, and I'm saying it's not my purpose to make everybody's life perfect, to make other people happy, to succeed as a writer, or to get 100,000 followers on YouTube, or to be the most popular cool uncle in my family. It's not my job to not get cancer. It's not my job to not get in a car accident. It's my job to be there in the midst of the shit show and not turn away, and try and smile and be gracious and have some gratitude for being part of the human condition, being born in a human body, in a human life. That's all I can do, is be here for it. Present moment awareness, we call it in Buddhism. Just a few random scattered thoughts about gratitude, death, bad wedding toasts, etc. for you as I wrap up my vacation home. One of the things I am most grateful for is my patrons. I cannot express how grateful I am for these people. They've kept me going in more ways than they can imagine. Some days when I'm really kind of frankly depressed or anxious, and I don't want to do anything, and I remember I have to make a video, and I remember these people are out there, 100 some odd people, 130 some odd people are out there appreciating this channel and this work, and joining their hearts to mine, and joining their hearts to each other in a kind of invisible network of practitioners. I think these things count. I think they matter. They matter as much as all the stupid stuff I hear on the radio as I'm driving around in my dad's car. They matter as much as, I don't know, the color of this green plant or this nice mirror here, they matter as much as material things, our invisible connections, our Dharma brotherhood and sisterhood and personhood. These things matter. We have to believe. We have to believe in each other and believe in the practice and trust it and trust the shit show, as I said. So I'm extremely, extremely grateful for my patrons. And if you want to support this channel, be a part of the Patreon crew, you can go here, patreon.com/Shozan Jack Hobner. You can also hit the subscribe, hit the like, and hit the notifications button. That helps this channel. Friends, next time I see you, I'll be back in Vienna, speaking German as I always do on these videos. Das gut, eh?